Hi, my name's Andrew from Camera House at Erina, and this is the overall winner of the Camera House Photography of the Year competition. I've been into photography since I was 13 years old. I started in film, and one of the things that taught me in film is that it's all about light. And the number one thing I can say about this image is it is the light. It's the combination of the rays, the combination of the reflection in the wave, even the way the light shimmers on the water. The thing that caught my attention first of all, as in every image, is the way the light plays across the scene. I knew I wanted a good depth of field. I knew that to isolate the boat from the rest of the scene, I needed to be focused purely on the boat. Helps if I could get the photos of the faces of the people in the boat, but the boat was the number one aspect of the scene, and I needed to position that boat in such a way as it was entering the image. It wouldn't have had the impact had the boat been in, right in the middle or towards the right-hand side. I needed that boat coming into the image. That depth of field is also lent by the fact that my clouds are slightly out of focus, as well as the foreground wave. That again adds to that depth. And without that depth, the image wouldn't quite have the impact that it is. The time of day was sunrise, and I love shooting at sunrise. It presents a new aspect every day, regardless of whether it's cloudy, it's sunny, it's raining, no matter what, there's always something to photograph. And in this case, I happened to luck out that the boat came along when I did. I had anticipated using my telephoto lens for the sun, but in this case, I was able to use it to capture the boat as well. I knew I wanted a fairly fast shutter speed. The boat was moving relatively fast, but it's the oars I wanted to try and stop, particularly the water if it was going to be kicked up by those oars. So I needed a shutter speed of around about a 500th of a second, which I deliberately set into the camera. I shot in shutter speed priority and let the camera make the decision about every other aspect of the image. The composition, as I've mentioned before, was with the boat, but I also knew that to get the sky and the water, I needed to position my horizon through the center of the image. Now, it usually breaks a few of those compositional rules, but in this case, I thought it was forgiven by the fact that every other aspect of the image worked. I shoot sunrise every day. The light this day was just amazing. The sunrise shots themselves are just as beautiful as this, but it's really that opportunity with the boat that presented itself perfectly for this particular image. As I've mentioned before, I get up every day for sunrise, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One, purely because it's a business aspect for me. I do market my photos specifically as sunrise shots, but it's the beauty of watching a new day. And even after 5 years of shooting, that wonder still comes along. This morning's sunrise, while cloudy, was beautiful regardless. But it's that change of scene, it's that change of light every day that gets me to get up out of bed. And as I say, even after 5 years. While photography is not necessarily about your gear does feature heavily in what and how you shoot. For instance, you'd need a good tripod to capture any shot of this style, whether it's the landscape or whether in this case the boat. You need a good tripod, and a good tripod does mean a little bit of extra investment. Coupled with that tripod is a remote. Hand pressing the shutter in some cases introduces a shake which you can't remove once it's there. So having a remote shutter will give you the ability to get those shots without interference. Knowing how to push your camera, knowing the ISO, knowing the aperture, knowing the shutter, knowing how they all relate is another aspect of photography. Take the time. Your camera has many, many settings. You can use it in auto, you can use it in aperture priority or shutter priority, you can use it in manual. As I said with this, I shot in shutter priority because I knew I wanted that fast shutter speed. That was the primary part in terms of technical side that I wanted in this particular image. And don't be afraid, as I said earlier, of using high ISO. Your cameras nowadays can cope with it, no problem at all. Photography for me is a way of capturing a moment in time, but it's also a way of capturing the life we live. While this isn't something that could necessarily have only been done in digital, it could easily have been shot in film, it would look very similar to a photograph taken in, say, 1970. Colours might not have been the same, but the actual subject of the image could have been done exactly the same way. For me, part of photography is capturing that particular moment in time. Photography is all about light, and I can't say that enough. Without light, you can't actually capture an image. But it's more important than that. The way the light plays over your subject, the way the light plays over your background, the way it plays with your foreground, all of that culminates in your image. Whether it's the shadows or the brightness of that light, whether it's the rays coming from the sun, in this case from the clouds, or the reflection on the water, it's all about light. But it's knowing what way to use that light as well. I could have changed position and got a slightly different shot, maybe a little easier of capturing the boat, but I wouldn't have had the rays from the sun as prominently in the image. So it's knowing how that light plays through your image. That's a very integral part of that photo. There is nothing unique about myself and the way I've photographed this. Everybody can learn how to take this photo. If you've only just picked up your camera first off, it doesn't matter. You can learn how to do this. It takes patience, it takes time, and above all, it takes practice, but anyone can learn to do this. The best way to do that is to come and see the experts at Camera House. Everyone is welcome at Camera House. My name is Andrew. Come and see me at Erina, John Ralph Camera House.